Hi there, welcome to a very important video on the Noah Presgrove case. Today I share with you an explanation behind how did writing on Noah Presgrove's body fade away and then later reappear before afterwards being found dead. Join me as I pair it with a map analysis and go into an event which has not been talked about much at all, and it's to do with the river trip, and not just once but multiple times. I'm going to do a breakdown analysis of the different party pieces, photos of Noah over the course of days, and providing timelines, timestamps to it so we can see before and after as well as in between, marking out the back of Noah's body from certain angles and more so the torso area, because I understand the argument what some people are putting across is, okay, there's hard evidence and footage of people writing on Noah's back and behind, but then later on, Noah appears a bit cleaner, like it's been washed or scrubbed off. How is that possible? Well, I'll explain that possibility on my map analysis if you do stick around today. But then later people were confused by one of the Monday selfies in the bathroom. There's suddenly writing all over Noah's chest and torso, tummy area. How's that even possible? And I think what people are neglecting is it's very possible for someone to write on Noah's body on one day and then a few days in between write on his body again. It's not just a one-time thing. And of course, the other key question, it might have been by Andrea or somebody else in the chat recently by saying, well, who else could have been drawn on? It might not have been just Noah exclusively. Another person could have had pen marks on the arms, legs, or wherever. I think when it comes to Noah Presgrove, though, because he is the popular guy and supposedly liked by most of the girls, and because he's been described as a really funny individual and a prankster, he probably also takes it takes it on the chin. So he's like the center of the attention, and he's probably okay with things being done to him within reason, of course. The only exception would be when Shane slapped Noah. Noah didn't really seem, I don't know, like willing or wanting it the same, though he did seem to brace when he had his hands on his crotch area or so. But when it came to Monday with Brylan Sweat, Noah was like asking for it. It's just highlighting that some of the events at the party people could deem as sinister because Noah is the end of all actions on the receiving end, but maybe some of it is because Noah is okay being in that position, right? If we need to do a separate video on that, we can, but I just want to focus in today with a map analysis of order of events and photos from the party of Noah when he was written on, comparing it to how he was later on at the party. We're not focusing all in on how Noah was found on the highway, because how that's been described is pretty much completely clean, no pen marks from the looks of it. So what would have happened at that point? Well, once we work out the earlier parts, it might make more sense towards the end stage. As said, be sure to stick around for that full understanding. I do want to say welcome to those that are currently here during this live premiere. Share your thoughts and opinions in the live chat box on the right-hand side of the screen. And at any point, and for those watching on catch up too, if you have any thoughts, any ideas, theories behind today's video, you want to let me know your thoughts and opinions and anything else in between. If you have any questions or any answers, leave them down below in the comment section under the video. It will help with spreading awareness. It will help YouTube push the videos out there so more people get to see. Because I do want to say something very important to you who's watching. YouTube at the moment, or for some time, have been silencing me on YouTube. When you go to the hashtag feature of Noah Presgrove, when you search Noah Presgrove in the YouTube search term, my videos are not at the top, even though I am uploading almost every single day, daily, more than anybody else in this entire world. Technically, by default, I should be at the top search terms because of the frequency and the consistency, but I'm actually really low down. The videos that are above me are lower views and by random default people, and then the typical popular channels that do one video, regurgitated old story, no updates, no relevant updates, but it's plastered at the top and it gets all the views. And whilst it's good for awareness, it's not good for learning more about the case as for the updates. So if you can share the video, hit the thumbs up, leave your comments down below, that level of engagement might help push it back up there, so then more people get to find it. The discoverability is important and key in spreading awareness in the case and spreading the new findings too. Like the video that I did a day or two ago, extremely important and deep. Never seen before deep dive on party footage, which we've all seen before, but in terms of the small details, not been done before. And in terms of the theories and ideas behind certain items going missing, to some extent, some people have never thought of it before. If you have missed out on a video like that and want to catch up on it, don't worry, it's all available in the entire playlist of the Noah Presgrove case, located top right corner where the eye symbol is up there. Click that when you've got time, you'll be able to find it. And like with that video and some of the recent ones, I'll have them loosely attached under the playlist as well. So you will be able to find it. It's all there. And if you want to support this channel in an alternative, more practical way, there is a PayPal link below in the comment section, pinned message with channel membership link. Welcome to those that have become members on my channel recently, much appreciated. And in addition, if you want to check out last night's video, you want a change from true crime, you want a mystery, a really deep, dark, disturbing mystery which could send chills down your spine, be sure to check out last night's video. The link of it will be where the eye symbol is in regard to the Kenny Veach case, a hike in the desert and a very disturbing, unexpected finding along the way. Hopefully that video gets more awareness, because at this moment in time, statistically, it's not doing well. And it's annoying because I know confidently that the videos are important. The material, the theme, it needs to get out there. The awareness needs to be spread, just like these videos. And I do find it interesting how, with time, the odd few people have said, taking it a bit too serious. Oh, well, last time I remember, when I was a little bit more lighthearted, I was getting burned at the stake. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. But one thing that does remain a constant is being locked on and doing original style videos. There's a process to it all. Might not be able to think of it in the moment at the time, give or take some time and patience, and this is where we are now. So join me today as we begin looking at the party footage and analysing the writing on Noah's body and figuring out what caused it to disappear and linking it to what Brooke Bounds-Carter had said in recent time on one of my live streams. What you're looking at on screen is from my last live stream. You can search for it yourself on my channel page in the live tab. The live chat replay at the time, and at some point within it, we're talking about a range of different events from the case of Noah Presgrove. Then it was brought up about the river. Brooke Bounds-Carter, I'll zoom in case it's a bit difficult to see. Hopefully it shows on screen. If not, I'll zoom back out in a second because I know it kind of gets cut off the screen. Brooke says, not to mention them playing in the river Sunday. As in them involving Noah Presgrove likely. How many people, who knows? At what time specifically, kind of unknown of. But it's interesting that these party goers are going down to the river and maybe playing in the water as well, depending on how much volume of water is present, because on satellite imagery it looks like it can dry up and there's more sand exposed at different times. Got to take that into consideration. There was a swimming pool and decking area behind the party house at the time, so it's interesting how party goers prioritised the river, which is further away, instead of just using the swimming pool on site at the property, unless the swimming pool was empty or not working like the cameras. I do find that interesting. Brenda says, I think most of the videos and photos we've seen online were from Caden Pressey. I'm sure other people took videos and photos as well. Well, for example, Brenda, the 2:32 in the morning Monday video of Pepe Guam and supposedly Mikey Lair underneath the traffic barrel. Well, at 2:32, Caden was asleep, so somebody else was recording Pepe and Mikey outside of the party house. There might be some other examples, but I can't think of on the spot. We don't actually hear Caden Pressey's voice when he is recording, so it's kind of hard to tell who is behind the camera. And it's never flipped around either. Mike Johnson says, what would be the purpose of removing the writing? Everybody knew it was there. It was videotaped. I mean, nothing nefarious about it. So many people made a big deal about it, driving and listening. Mike driving and listening at the time of my live stream, just for context. The thing is, Mike, I do understand what you're getting at. Partygoers, if there was any foul play or anything dodgy like that, wouldn't have to worry about some writing on Noah's body associated with the names of those people that wrote on Noah's body, because video footage shows it was on an earlier day, not on the day of Noah's death. So nobody would have to sweat it, would they? They wouldn't have to worry at all. But the thing is, Mike, as a counterpoint, based on Monday in the morning at 1:50, Noah Presgrove suddenly, magically, has all writing on his torso area. And then, later on in the day when he is found, it's no longer there. So it has been cleaned off in between. Was it that on the Saturday there was no need to worry or sweat because it's videotaped, recorded, evidence shows it was on a day earlier or two before Noah's death? But if Noah was to be written on a second time round, closer to the day or time of Noah's death, well, then people may worry on that occasion and may take in consideration that a wash is needed. That is just a suggestion and only. Brooke Bounds-Carter also said, no, they literally were playing in the river Sunday. Literally in the water. Well, if they're in the water, it's like the equivalent of having a wash, whether you're scrubbing yourself or there's friction with the water. I don't know if it would apply with salt water within a river or not, or small concentrated amounts. Could that speed up as a catalyst possible erosion of markings on the skin? I'm not an expert there, but it's just a suggestion. Continuing on with the conversation, onto the next slide, as part of the same chat thread, Jam Sandwich said, ask Brooke Bounds-Carter what time they were playing in the river on Sunday. And that is a very important question because it can determine and impact and affect the photos from 10:52 at night of Sunday and then 1:50 in the morning on Monday, in between that time frame period. Brooke Bounds-Carter said to Tammy, they were all up and down the river all weekend, every day. Now, it seems to be a bit of a constant event, that. An event which has happened, took place every day during the party and celebrations, but not one bit of recorded footage or publicly posted video or snap about it. That's what I find hard to believe. Okay, there's clips from the party house and even the outside front patio area, yet there's no footage from round the back, the pasture. Why is that? And we're talking publicly speaking. And yet you got the river where people are having fun, probably a great time, funny moments, and yet it's not documented or recorded. I don't know, it's a bit unusual. Brooke says, Raf, I've said this numerous times in your comments, and to be honest, it is hard to remember it all, so there needs to be a bit of slack and leniency every now and then, Brooke. But upon reflection, yes, I do remember the mention of the river, and I just happened to do a brief video in the past. However, at least to my knowledge and memory, when it comes to the specific wording used, I wasn't aware, or I can't remember the mention of it being all weekend, every day. A one-off trip to the river area, okay, but multiple days, that could heavily link on with why Noah's body appeared clean at times and faded when there was writing on the body, because people were trying to figure out how many showers and how many washes did Noah have during the time he was there at the party and beyond. Well, besides showers and washes, if you're in contact with other forms of water elsewhere, and if there are not chemicals in that sense, sediments and stuff, minerals, which could speed up the process of erosion of writing on the body, then it's worth taking in consideration. And I think Brooks' response was to me about saying, I'm not sure, I know there is zero cell service there at the river. I believe I asked a question earlier about, is there any video footage of them at the river, any proof and evidence? And Brooks says, I'm not too sure about that. So, bringing up once again, if there's anyone watching in the background, if you know of something, leave a comment down below or reach out to me privately. Social media links are on my channel page. If you know, have witnessed or have footage of partygoers at the river, which includes Noah Presgrove, etc. Even if it's just them having fun, it's just that material. It adds depths, it adds layers, right? Besides the whole party house focus to property and then the highway, we're unlocking new areas of interest, which could be investigated, looked into, additional leads, whether you believe there's foul play or not, accidental or a murder. Is there any significance with the river area as to what evidence being collected, things being lost or disposed of? I mean, when Noah Presgrove had his hat or certain items with him at a certain point, his wallet, for example, was he at the river? Did he lose items there? All these extra layers that need to be considered, whether it be really dark and mysterious or with a level of common sense, it can tick things off the list. But if there is zero cell service down at the river, well, when it comes to if people bring phones down to the area, then I guess the pings, the phone pings and the data, the geofence, whatever, probably isn't going to work the same way or not at all. Some people may not even bring the phones down with them if they're going to the river, because getting into the water, you don't want your phone in your pocket unless they left them by the beach sand area, left them in the vehicles. But if they at least had their phones on them as they were going on down, whichever route they took, pinging up to a certain point, it could at least reinforce and say, yes, they were there at that time on that day and over the course of days of the weekend. So the other mention of cell service, which is deemed more weak, would be the highway, based on Jack Newton's situation and the phone pinging in the wrong area from what the police told Jack and what Jack told someone in the Facebook Messenger, and then it was released public, if you remember. I believe it was in that order. Tammy says, it would be nice to see Noah Presgrove having fun with his friends at the river. If anyone has videos of it, of course it would be really important in the case and learning. Lisa, yeah, I remember hearing about the river, that they were trying to say that's why the patio was all wet. As in who? Who are they, Lisa? And who was trying in a desperate way to explain things? Do you, Lisa, believe that the patio area is wet for alternative reasons, darker reasons maybe? I personally don't think that the patio was wet because of people going down to the river. The distance between point A to point B is going to take some time to get from location to location, with the exception of if you're using a vehicle, of course. But still, you're likely to dry off by the time you get back to the party house. Or at least that's my personal opinion. You got to take in mind the weather, the humidity as well, and evaporation of water. So, with the introduction of the river trips, multiple days back to back, and Noah participating, that could explain why writing disappeared or faded. But we need to look back at the origins to some extent. Now, take in mind, as a disclaimer, yes, it has been censored, this, but as for the relevant evidence on screen is all in shot. This clip, this screenshot from the video, which you're aware of by now, has been enhanced to make it appear much clearer. It shows names written on, and it's been blurred within reason. So YouTube, I am following guidelines. It's all above board and under control and educational reasons, and taking it extremely serious. Okay? Take in mind, I have added on dates or timestamps which aren't originally featured but have been associated with the clips. So just take that into consideration. I'll bring it up again just so no one's confused. This says the 2nd of September, as in the Saturday. We don't know what really happened on the Friday, but the Saturday is when Noah Presgrove was present and already getting into the action and being drawn on. Now, which areas do we really need to feature and focus? Well, when it comes to the writing on the cheeks area, on the left, it was suggested in black that it spells Pressy, as in Caden Pressy. I can see the Y, but I can't really see anything else clear to read it out. Maybe other people see it differently, but it's just worth acknowledging. If Caden Pressy was to write it, though, what time was this actual clip taken, the time on the Saturday? Likely in the evening time, but what time exactly? Because based on Alicia's statement, Caden showed up on the Saturday almost past midnight, close to Sunday morning. If Caden's name was written on Noah's cheek, Caden likely would have to be present to write it, just like Avery. So it's just working out the timing of when Caden was present compared to when this footage was taken. And if Caden's name is on the left cheek in the black writing, Caden would have to be there and be there at the appropriate time, and it may counter or reinforce what Alicia was claiming on behalf of Caden. We don't forget, do we? Well, at least I don't. But we're not focusing all in on the writing on the cheek because Noah's wearing his shorts all other times, so we can't really tell if it's there or not after. But at least when it comes to being at the highway, no longer there. The exception would be on the left, which some people have read out as Henry, some people has read out as Honey, but it was at least written by a female, a girl, party girl. Unidentified though, couldn't quite tell what the face was and who they were. The other one highlighted in the circle is of the male anatomy. The reason why those two in particular are circled is because we're using them to compare and contrast to later pictures of Noah from the back. Were those items, drawings, writings still on Noah's back the day later, the day after? Did they disappear? And you'll see for yourself, but the stuff below it you're not going to know because the shorts are pulled up covering that area. Maybe the name Henry or Honey is mostly covered too, but you might see the tip of the H peeking out above the shorts if the writing was still there. But you would definitely see that male anatomy drawing on Noah's back other times at the party. So just be on the lookout for those circled and we'll get back to it, okay? The only other mention would be that can, and the reason why I say that is when we look at this image on the 2nd as well on the Saturday, should be somewhat familiar with this picture by now. This particular one, Noah Presgrove can't really see the sunglasses on his hat. So whether he lost them by this point or not, who knows? Shandy is in the background. I could be wrong. I'm not, confident, but over Noah's shoulder, I think that could be Carter Combs. If not, somebody else. Besides the girl, I think that might be Carlson Myers. On the right-hand side, there are two people in pink, not to get mixed up. The blonde girl with the pink shirt and black shorts is Shandy or Shandon, the one that slapped Noah on Saturday, the one that was only there on Saturday. And the girl behind Shandon is Avery Jo Combs, also known as Avery Jo Howard, the birthday girl, the 22-year-old sister to Carter. And she's wearing a whitish top with pink shorts, also seen captured when running into a plank of wood or a block of something. I believe I'm correct in saying that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section. But we're mainly focusing in on Noah Presgrove hair. Sunglasses don't seem to be present from this angle, at least, whether they were put down or not. But there is a possible exception. Don't know for certain. But where you see Noah's hand, underneath, like tucked in between his wrist area and I guess his shoulder and armpit. There is a black object there. I hope you can see it. We could possibly do a future analysis of it. They could be the sunglasses. You see the arm of it, and then has it the lens. I think that could well be the sunglasses. So they're not on his head, but they're in his hand, because it seems to be in front of his arm, but behind his wrist, as if he's got it tucked, holding it in an awkward position. That's my analysis. He's got the can in his, to our visual point on the right side, but that'll be his left hand. And that can, with the khaki shorts and Shandon in the background, that's what determines this as in Saturday, ticks the boxes. That can, what you see back there in his rear cheek pocket on the right, could well be the same can as what he has there in his hand. Nothing game-changing, but just adds a bit of context. He's got his cap with him. You do see, I guess, more of the kitchen area, and it's probably one of the clearest ones back there. I don't know if that's a coffee machine or a blender. Cupboards as well, chair near the countertop. It just adds more layers to understanding the room. Then on the left is a couch, chair, recliner. Don't know. Oh, yeah, it could be the couch or chair. And then back there into the other room, I think could well be the front entrance doorway. I say it's from a different angle, so I'm learning on the spot. But you can see where the arrow is mainly pointing, and that's on the chest area. Now, when I look at that quick, I'm thinking it looks like whipped cream, but some kind of signature, possibly. It could be a white Sharpie pen, but it looks very thick and wet and like 3D, as in it's raised. There's either a lot of ink on the chest, or there's a lot of cream and it's been like inscribed on the chest area. You can let me know what you think. I noticed that kind of on the shoulder near to the traps, a little bit red, Noah's skin, and then just under his necklace, round his neck, he's got quite a reddish neck. So was he grabbed, was he pulled, or anything like that, or could it just be the heating? Not much else lower down, and this is what's important. You're looking at the chest, torso area, no writing, all clean at that moment in time. So whilst there's video footage of Noah Presgrove on the Saturday being written on the back and the cheek, we've not seen any footage of him being written on the front, the torso, chest and tummy. Though you got that there. Was that written before, after, or during the clip of him being written on the bottom? Could be at the same time, possibly. Seems like the same texture and pen-like thing. So maybe the person that wrote Honey or Henry, the girl, may have also wrote that, and maybe the male anatomy on Noah's back too, or it could have been passed on to somebody else. When I read that, does it look like initials? Does it look like a signature? I think I can see a J. It could well be Jasmine Milan. Not confident, but it could be. So you let me know your thoughts in the comment section as to whose name that is, and what does it look like to you? What does it spell out? He's got his necklace with him. The only other mention is his fingers, like the knuckle area, quite red, grazed and scraped. How could that have happened? Punching a wall, punching an object, hitting something hard where there's friction and tension. A rough surface which rips off the skin. Maybe. I mean, I know there was that obsession about the shredded fingertips in the autopsy. Even though officially the autopsy report never stated it, it was just a rumour online which got out of control. I never fell for it, so it was under control, which is a positive. You let me know, though, in the comment section, even with a timestamp, if I have missed out on anything. If you notice anything of interest that's unique to you and your understanding, leave a comment below. But it's pretty bland here, not too much going on to my knowledge. When we get onto this one though, 10:52 p.m. And just as a heads up, there was a slight mistake made in one of my old map analysis video projects. I said AM, it should have been PM. Maybe no one really picked up on it, but I just wanted to correct it now as a heads up. PM. This is a timestamp which has been added on by me as like an overlay. It's not the original true time. You could wonder, what does that mean, original true time? For example, when you've got a screenshot from the gallery which shows the timestamp, the original, right, within the gallery, or the equivalent as in on Snapchat, right? You know, where it gives like at the top corner of the screen or the center top of the screen, the date, the time, the year, and all of that. Well, we didn't have it for this particular bit of footage. And I got this from the compilation clip from Daily Mail. Maybe the raw original video would show the true time and from the gallery point of view on mobile or from Snapchat, depending on where or how it was recorded and posted. But from what we were told, specifically by Brooke Bounds-Carter, what I can remember during one of my live streams or live video premieres, people were talking about, what about when Noah Presgrove was dancing around in the kitchen with the black shorts on? That has to be Sunday, right? Or maybe even Monday onwards. At what point exactly? Brooke Bounds-Carter said it's around or at 10:52 p.m. on the 3rd. Take in mind, 2 minutes before this of Noah dancing, Noah Presgrove was near to the kitchen area and he was wearing his hat. He wasn't really doing much, he was just stood about, and it was when Caden Pressey was recording it when sat down, which showed Noah Presgrove with his hat, not appearing that drunk, and then 2 minutes later he's suddenly dancing about with no hat. And people were saying, well, is that possible? Is that likely? Is there a bit of an overlap? Could this timestamp be wrong and it was later or earlier into the night or so? I think it's quite possible because one constant and form of consistency is 2 minutes before when Caden was recording towards the kitchen dining area, Noah is near or within the kitchen. 2 minutes later, Noah Presgrove is seen on camera, recorded by someone in the kitchen area. It doesn't change. Noah Presgrove was wearing black shorts and topless 2 minutes before this, and then 2 minutes later, the same. The only difference is he doesn't have his hat on here. He could have taken it off. Did he put it back on later? Well, we'll do a separate video about that, but the main focus is showing that his torso, stomach area is clean. And more so, the upper chest area, there is no there's no white Sharpie marking or writing, as what was seen here on the Saturday, right? Writing on the upper pec area on his left, from our point of view, on the right. And yet, when you see it on Sunday, the 3rd, there's no writing whatsoever. What changed in between those days for it to disappear? I mean, it's quite simple. From Saturday to Sunday evening, in between that, you may have had the river event from what Brooke Bounds-Carter said, so that could have washed it off to some extent. And furthermore, Noah Presgrove, Sunday morning after breakfast, did go back home to have a shower. So he could have scrubbed some of it off then. And then afterwards, back to the party, afternoon, evening, could have gone back to the river and washed it off further or other areas of his body, right? It is possible. But I do put a question mark down just to protect myself, because when it comes to the original raw footage of the clips, I don't see the overlay timestamp, right? It's what we've been told, and I've added it on screen just whilst we're narrating. I hope that's very clear because I don't want anyone to be confused. The red circle, irrelevant. It was just done. It was done like that by Daily Mail. Okay, but appears clean. You can't see writing on him. But of course, right? Up to now, it's mainly on the back and the bottom area. When do we get to see that part? Well, we start getting onto it now. Because at 1:05 in the morning, well, yes, I've added this timestamp on top of the clip from my memory and knowledge, because it being Caden Pressey that recorded this, Caden Pressey's raw footage from his default gallery. inbuilt on his phone showed the overlay of 1:05 in the morning, hence why we're all familiar with it. But I thought I'd just add it on for reference here and on the next slide as well. Has anything changed drastic? Not really, though you got the exception highlighted with the circle, right? There is writing on it, like an initial. In the past, I thought it could have been asphalt, like a skid mark, a bit of dirt. But people have said, no, it was an initial, it was writing, a scribble, a Sharpie pen. So that's interesting. But the one thing what we do need to acknowledge is when did it occur, the timing. Well, as Noah's dancing here, he doesn't turn around, so we can't really see what's written on his back, whether that male anatomy drawing is on it or the Henry writing or honey. However, when going back to Saturday from this angle and this angle only, we don't know if they did write on his upper left back shoulder area. So I can't compare it with the 1:05 in the morning of Monday. So maybe they did draw on his shoulder area on the Saturday evening, night time, and it remained on till Monday morning, possibly. It does appear to look somewhat faded. Maybe Noah tried washing that spot but couldn't quite reach, so only so much of it was scrubbed off and erased, possibly. Anything else of interest? We don't get to see the best angles here. As said, well, you can't see it from that one, but with Noah wearing his black shorts reasonably high up, it's going to cover his cheek. So we don't know if any writing is still there or if it's faded or not, but at least the chest area and torso all clean at 1:05 in the morning. Now, things drastically change because 45 minutes later, voila, suddenly there's all writing on the front of his body. Where did that come from? People have questioned and said, well, surely this can't be in order. And after this, if there's no writing on him at 1:05, why would there be 45 minutes later? It's not possible. As I said, as a counterpoint, it is very possible, for as long as there's bloody marker pens and Sharpies on a Saturday could have been written on and then left, washed in between in different ways. Some of it went completely, other bits faded, and then he was written on a second time round, closer and around to the time leading up to the day of Noah's death. This type of writing, would anyone panic, as in we need to scrub it off once Noah's dead if there is any foul play? The one on Saturday, no need to panic or worry, because there's proof and evidence and video recording of when that took place. People having no role in Noah's death with that one associated clip because it was on an earlier day, not relevant. But was there any video footage recorded the second time round whenever the writing was applied? And breaking it down, 1:05 in the morning, the 4th of September, Monday morning, no writing. 45 minutes later, there is writing. So within a 45-minute time frame window, people were writing, or someone was writing on Noah's chest and tummy area. Who by exactly? Who knows? As for other partygoers, were they written on? Well, as example, from at least what we can see here, limited in view and angles, Jack Newton doesn't appear to be written on. So there is that. In regard to what it actually reads, I mean, you can leave your thoughts and comments down below as to what you think. I did try and enhance the image, but I didn't want to enhance it too much or it would have become a bit too grainy. Don't know about initials, but I can see one particular sentence. If we zoom in, just behind Jack Newton's fingers and hand, I can see the letter I. If that's the initial for Isaac Rojas, or if it was to say I something, as in a sentence. As for lower down, more so the midsection, just like where the abs would be, you might not be able to see it when zoomed in, but I can see I again. Then it says eat, and then what? Well, reading out in full, it reads, I eat ass. I eat arse. Right? Just a prank, immature behaviour, nothing that deep. But then lower down on the waist, there is some more writing which I can't really make out, and a bit more under Noah's hand. I can see a letter S, maybe a letter N, maybe a letter W underneath his fingers out of view. Under the word ass, there is more writing, and it's getting towards the shorts area. So it's really hard to read out what it says. I don't know if it's more so sentences joking about and less to do with initials and people's names. Probably nothing that deep. But of course, when you've followed the photos and the party footage from 1:05 in the morning, looks pretty clean and washed, no big deal. And then suddenly, he's written on all over again. What's the deal there? I mean, it's quite possible that Noah Presgrove was written on a second time round, and it is what it is. But the one thing that does need to be considered is the fact that this particular one, within that 45-minute time frame window of writing being added on, within that 45-minute period, it also appears to be erased or somewhat faded. Whether that be because the marker pen was poor quality, running out of ink, or it would have to mean that either Noah had a wash in between that, water was splashed on him, some form of friction was made as well, and or, as like what BBC says, going down to the river. Now, depending on the timing, the lighting as well, because we know it's supposedly limited, is it safe to go on down to the river in the pitch black, in the dark? I mean, if you're going to be going in a vehicle, you're probably going to have lights, headlamps on, depending what route you take. I mean, is it safe to do? Is it pretty simple? Is it that straightforward? If it is, well then fair enough. It could explain why the writing was on within that 45-minute time frame period window, but also why it was quickly erased or faded. And sometimes there's like a time frame window of when you write on your body. Okay, it might be a very short one. Use a certain marker pen or a pen on you write on your skin, and if you wash it off quick enough, maybe with the right material or chemicals, you can get rid of it. But if you let it dry and set, you can have a difficult time getting rid of it, and it's just going to take time, right? So it depends what marker pen, but with it being black, the ink, it could well be similar to what we saw Saturday. The only other thing you could possibly consider, and it's not a guarantee, is what about analysing the text, the font, the handwriting? What you see written on the front of Noah, take it in just for a second, right? And then, if we go back to one of the earlier frames, as in Saturday, this one here, does any of that writing, whether it be Avery's handwriting or the other person on the left, or the one that wrote in white ink, does any of that look similar to the same style as handwriting as seen Monday onwards? You know, right there. And also this particular shot there, it might not show up on screen, so I'll have to zoom out, but on the shoulder area, is it all by the same person or just similar to people's handwriting styles, to try and figure out and pin down who is responsible? But I'm not saying that the one responsible for writing on Noah's body, and specifically this particular time, is associated or linked with Noah's death. It's just working it out how writing can appear, then disappear, appear, and also be faded. What are the events and factors which play a role in that, and in what order? And when we link back to this about the river, playing in the river, within the water, and specifically being mentioned it happened on Sunday, well, when looking back on Sunday, there's no writing on his chest area, as in the white writing which you saw Saturday, so that could have been washed off partially or completely Sunday morning onwards when Noah went back home to have a shower. And if it washed off completely, or if it didn't, more so washed off when it came to Sunday at some point, hence why this particular clip, there's no writing on his chest area, because maybe before 10:52 went down to the river. But what about Monday morning onwards when there was writing and it was faded. I don't know if there's any streak marks of ink dripping down the chest area, or it might just be discoloration or dirt or tanned in some areas. It could be image quality and grain. There's that as well. But as said, mentioned about they were all up and down the river all weekend, every day, all weekend. I mean, normally a weekend is Saturday and Sunday. So when it comes to the day before Friday, that's not considered the weekend. It's coming up to the weekend, but it's still a part of the working week. It's like a weekday. So considering that the party started on Friday, did anyone go down to the river on Friday, Brooke? Or did it all start Saturday, hence with Noah present as well, onwards? And exactly who was at the river as well? Well, we can try and visually look at it on the maps in some way in just a second and add in the other features of washes and times of that. But, you can wash Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but you could say, that's irrelevant when looking at the images. This is Monday onwards, 1:50 a.m., the last known publicly documented and posted clip selfie of Noah Presgrove before after when he died. I mean, there might be video footage and clips of Noah alive after 1:50, but before 3:30, but publicly we have not seen it. It's not been revealed public, so I can't really talk about it, and I've not seen it myself, just as a heads up. This is all we've got to work with, but because the writing is faded, it implies that there's been scrubbing, washing, water contact made to the skin, the surface, in a short period of time when it was written on before it had time to dry, or later when it had dried and set, there would be a greater need for a level of friction and possible rubbing. And if there is exceptions to, besides the weekend, as in an extended weekend, because Monday being Labour Day, if that's considered as an extended weekend, like a bank holiday, then what Brooke says here could apply, as in they went to the river on the Monday as well. With that being in mind, let's head on over to Google Earth. To start things off, we're just going to explain what each marker is and the order of events as to what happened. Events which involve cleaning and showering, which could explain the erosion of the writing on Noah's body and within the appropriate order. Then I'll explain what that yellow path and marker is as a possible route to the river. Take in mind, I don't know the actual route, it's just as a suggestion. If there needs to be an update down the line or in the future, I can do another video, but let's just work with what we've got first of all. So summarise very briefly, Saturday, writing on behind and on the back area, video footage of that, Saturday specifically, but no time actually given. We don't know the timing of it, and we don't know who the girl was on the left-hand side writing, which may have wrote Henry or Honey. Then we've got Sunday after breakfast, shower at home. Brief backstory behind all of that was Noah was there Saturday, supposedly slept on the floor or passed out on the floor besides Logan Jernigan. Before that, Saturday going into past midnight of really early Sunday morning, Noah Presgrove had a falling out, was yelling at Jack because Jack flirted with Noah's girlfriend, but Noah's girlfriend wasn't at the party at the time, meaning either Jack was flirting digitally via communication, or maybe in person but days before the party. We don't know the full backstory, but from what Justin Roy claims, there was pushing and shoving and it was quite physical, and Caden Pressey had to break up the fight, but Caden Pressey has never acknowledged him breaking up any fight, just that Caden overheard it and that was it. So there's dysfunction there, but beside that, Sunday morning, breakfast time, Noah Presgrove, the guys, the girls, heading down to Waurika to go to the gas station, or a gas station. Apologies if it doesn't load in properly, just typical technology failing on me, incompetence. Went to gas station, had breakfast. Then they all went back, from what Caden says, to the party house, dropped off the girls, dropped off Caden. Then Noah Presgrove, the rest of the guys, went back out to town, whether it be the same place where they came from or somewhere else, along with Caleb Newton, from what Caden Pressey stated, I believe in the Parts in True Crime Part 1 interview, or the final 10 minutes of the Part 1 interview. Always forget about that one. Nevertheless, whatever they did, they did. And then after that, that's when Noah Presgrove went back to his place of living, which was, I believe, at Deborah Smith's house, roughly over this way. I don't know the exact spot or location. We don't need to focus in too much at all for privacy reasons as well, but within the area, okay? So Noah Presgrove makes it back home after breakfast Sunday. As for what time he made it back to his place of living, that's unknown. As to how long he specifically spent in one place, unknown. But it's been mentioned that Noah Presgrove supposedly was hanging out with his girlfriend. Now, if that was the case, side question, right? We're just in a placeholder spot right now whilst I'm narrating. If Noah Presgrove met up with his girlfriend at the place of living or in town somewhere, did Noah Presgrove bring it up to his girlfriend about, oh yeah, I heard about Jack Newton flirting with you behind my back? Was there any arguments? Was there any pettiness? Any trouble? Did it ever get brought up in conversation? Might as well be talked about, because if Noah Presgrove... See, this is the thing. Jack Newton said that him and Noah made up and hugged it out, and probably they did, to go out for breakfast together and spend some time out, and then for Noah to be convinced to return back later on the Sunday, right, back to the party. Must have been on good terms. But how was it resolved and settled that your best friend is going behind your back, flirting with your girlfriend at the time, and more so, your girlfriend, going along with it and flirting back? We don't know the full story. It might be one-sided flirting. But from the looks of it, Noah Presgrove was in the dark about it, and that's why he was yelling at Jack. Didn't know at the time. So why was the girlfriend keeping it secret then? Was the girlfriend of Noah's flirting with Jack as well? Did Noah's girlfriend know that Jack was in a relationship? Should Jack have known better to not be flirting when in a relationship? Of course, there's a lot of different things to consider, and people can say, well, it's casual. Oh, well, it's this, it's that. We wonder why nowadays there's no loyalty and it's all fucking weak. I think people need to step the fuck up and be a bit more realistic and aware around. But when it comes to this situation, the community, the country, the area, the party itself, the age range, could be quite loose. I mean, like the reference of Noah Presgrove, because you can look at it from Jack Newton flirting with Noah's girlfriend, but then you've got Jack Newton flirting with Noah's girlfriend, but then you got Noah Presgrove sleeping next to Logan Jernigan and kissing her, from what Noah's family states, and doing more than kissing, sexual activity. Shouldn't Noah Presgrove know better to not be doing that if he's already got a girlfriend, already in a relationship? Or just that loyalty aspect is just out of the window and it's just screw it all? It sounds a bit of a messy situation, but I just wanted to add in the additional backstory and additional questions which I've not mentioned before. So, whilst Noah Presgrove Sunday morning has made it back to his place of living, he has a shower, from what it's been stated in the story and case. So by Noah having a shower Sunday morning, it gives an opportunity to wash away what was written on his body the day or night before, right, on the Saturday, on the buttocks area and partially the lower or middle back area and attempts of the shoulder, right? Noah Presgrove reaching around, scrubbing and washing, whether it comes off completely or partially. If it's partially, how does it then link to, at a certain point of the day or evening time, afternoon, of when, like 10:52, Noah's dancing about? Well, there's no writing on him there. Well, we don't know about the back and bottom area. We supposedly know about Monday when the writing on the torso appears. The back area is clear on Monday, but a day before that or two, there would have been an opportunity to have a shower here or there and washes in other ways. So for example, Sunday morning, a shower at his place of living. It gives the opportunity to scrub away some of the pen markings, if not most. And if it's a Sharpie, if it's a marker, and it will stain the body and it takes some time to scrub off, either hard scrubbing or multiple washes over a course of time for it to completely go, well then maybe this one shower wasn't enough to get rid of it completely. So when Noah Presgrove is called back by Jack to come to the party again, and does arrive back to the party, what happened from that point on? With what happened Saturday, what about Sunday afternoon, evening? What happened in that span of time? Well, when zooming out of the map, let's return back to the party house to continue the analysis. Make sure we're facing the correct way. There we go. It's quite far out, isn't it? The distance, about 44.4 miles or so. Returning to party afternoon or evening, we don't know the exact time, it's not really been mentioned clear. Appears cleaner, of course. Did Noah have a shower at a certain point at the party? There's a possibility. Okay, we always hear about the shower that took place Monday because of wanting it for two reasons. One, side-by-side rollover, all dirty, sticky, needing to wash it off. And then two, because Monday is when they were going to sleep early hours, wind down, treating it as Sunday night because they hadn't gone to sleep yet. But they were about to Monday early hours. So with that crossover, would Noah likely have had a shower at some point Sunday when at the party? There's a small chance, and people have suggested it did happen. So that could have explained at some point why it appeared that there was a wash. Now, I did put a link on that at 1:05 a.m. on the 4th, Noah Presgrove's back looked cleaner, with the exception of the marking on the left shoulder area where there was still that black pen mark. But in terms of that male anatomy in white ink on the spine area or so, midsection of the spine, nowhere to be seen as on Monday, meaning that was washed off successfully. At what point? Well, we can't really compare it with earlier footage because it's more so from the front what we're looking at of Noah. The only possible exception could be at 10:50 p.m. when Caden Pressey was recording Noah near the kitchen area near to Georgia and Breeley. But I think it was more a side profile, so you couldn't really see the back and it wasn't that clear. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the order of how things could have gone, appearing cleaner. Then 1:50 a.m. Monday, writing on torso faded. Then after 1:50, whatever the time the side-by-side rollover occurred at, shortly after that, the shower, the actual shower at the party, and two girls, Carter and Jasmine, helping Noah. That would have been yet another opportunity to wash away anything else that was still already on Noah's body, such as the writing on his torso, which was faded by 1:50, already faded, meaning it's been washed in some way before 1:50, and then the shower after that, after the rollover, another opportunity to wash more away, to the point of where when Noah Presgrove is found on the highway, supposedly there is no markings on his body whatsoever. Maybe some people would still say it's just not enough. You need more showers and more washes and more time to erase the marker pens. You need more scrubs and more harder rubs to the point of where it could cause skin to come off or become red and raw, but that was never really brought up in the autopsy from my memory. Okay, well, that's fine if people don't agree, but I'm just working with what I've got. I'm just thinking that maybe the trips to the river, or a trip to the river specifically at some point Monday or Sunday. No, it would have to be on Monday. It has to be on Monday because 1:05, no writing on Noah's chest. 1:50, writing on Noah's chest. Take in mind The whole 150 timestamp of Noah Presgrove and Jack Newton in the bathroom is what's been widely referred to as that time of 150, right? Officially, as for an overlay, an internal timestamp within the raw footage, I've yet to see. So there is that small chance that people could put the argument across and say within a 45-minute time frame from 1:05 in the morning to 1:50, it's unlikely for writing to just suddenly appear and also appear faded to fit in having a wash or going to the river in such a small space of time. It's just not possible, meaning likely the 1:50 timestamp of Noah and Jack in the bathroom, that may not be the true time. It could be later on in the day of Monday, or it could be much earlier on. It could be Sunday. I'm only adding that in as a counterpoint just in case everything turns upside down, because it bloody well can at times and it's annoying. So I thought I'd just cover myself there. But if we're just basing it off the times, what we've been given, what we've received in this particular order, a trip to the river, how likely is it possible? 1:05 to 1:50. Probably enough time to make it down to the river, but is there enough time to be there and back before 1:50 to get into the bathroom for Jack and Noah to take a selfie together after being at the river? I mean, did their hair look wet to you? Kind of hard to tell. But in terms of the tummy area and chest, it looked like the text and writing was faded, meaning some form of liquid had to have been made with contact to the skin and maybe a bit of friction as well. If you believe that the hair was wet, that could possibly link on to earlier trip to the river, but the timing is so early in the morning and with limited light. That's the only factor where I'm thinking, would they actually go down to the river at such an early time and when it's still really dark? It might not faze them. It might be light, easy work. I don't know personally. It's just my thoughts. So when we move on to the whole river idea, where would they have gone? How did they access the river? Well, to be honest, you could get down to it, the Sandplank Crossing, but of course you're not allowed access because it's like private, only workers I guess allowed. Sandplank Crossing, go all the way down to like the quarry area, right? And you follow these dirt roads, you can clearly see the outline of it, and it goes straight to, I guess, the river area from the looks of it. But they wouldn't have done that because you don't have access to it. Is it possible to access to it from the party house property? Well, let's just take a little look. So let's just say the guys, and if any girls did go along, and we're focusing in on early hours of Monday to explain the text being erased specifically, but the same route could apply to previous days before. Now Presgrove and some other guys, load up in one vehicle or two, side by side, Ford Ranger, a pickup, who knows what vehicle, but one that can probably handle off-road, likely, driving down this way, which would be northeast, heading west towards, I don't know if this is classified as Stevie Howard's trailer or owned by one of them or so. Comes to a bit of a dead end from the looks of it technically. However, I think there's like some track mark which bends onto the field here, and I mean the perception is there could be a fence line personally, but if they own the field, which appears to be the case, but then again you do have the fence line, but then again there is a gap in between that fence line, or at least visually. So excuse the marker at first, but based off the track marks, what I can see, heading down from the party house, going west, reaching the end point here where that donut is, taking a right where that mark of track is, going onto the field, following the light mark of the track, taking a left here through this tight fence line, because there appears to be a gap from the looks of it, with track marks which follow on down this slope, right? Edging around the wooded area there on the left, dropping in slight elevation, and then you're straight onto the track mark, so you can clearly see. I know it doesn't quite align with the yellow marker which I use, but you get the idea. Following it that way would lead up possibly to the sand plant area, but you're not allowed that way. But the track marks do point in that direction. Then, if you used to ignore that and focus on the track marks here, which there's a bit of distance and looks like there could be some vegetation quite thick. Is it wooded or so? Following this route, possibly. You can take a right there or take a left here, as you can see. Take a right up and down the bumps. We can't do street view here because it's not documented. Then you got a little crossroad. You go right or left. Go left. And it does continue further on that way, but take another right here, right? There's track marks. It does bend over that way, further down to the river, or you can continue on where the track marks are. And then you're basically at the beach area, or depending what you call it, a tide, or when the water's in or out, or the volume of it at the time, and the weather and the temperatures, the volume of the water and how that's impacted. You get down to the river area here. Is this the exact spot? Maybe not. Is it the exact route? Maybe not. Is it private? Is it accessible still? Who knows? But I'm just basing it off track marks, where there's track marks, and if it links onto the party house or the property of it, you might be able to get on down there. And with track marks means vehicles, and with vehicles mean people at some point, and it could well be the party goers. Of course, if it needs to be counted or additional points, you can. It's just in terms of the quickest way down there, based on the timing and the time frame window, this seems like a practical option. So you got the beach area here, which may or may not be filled in with water at certain times. This specific satellite imagery may not be quite relevant to the time of the party, when there might have been more of you can't call it a tide. Can you call it a tide when the water's in, where there's more volume of it? But playing within the river, and okay, some people could say, well, where's the water? Well, this greenish stuff is the water, and maybe the perception is at this point it was just really dry at the time, but normally filled with water. There are images of it elsewhere, which I can show you a bit later on, just so you get a quick idea, but can't see footprints from this distance, this height. I mean, there's like a dot there, but who knows what that is. Any vehicles parked up, not that this would be relevant to the party specifically. Track marks of any kind. There might be elsewhere. The texture anyway is kind of hard to determine, but I think in other areas there would be track marks as if people were crossing over when the water levels were a lot lower, but that might be further on. But the Red River covers a lot of distance basically, and I don't know if the Red River is something that I'm familiar with a previous case I looked at. Maybe not. But there's enough area and enough space, right? All the way down there. In terms of the distance, I hope that I can measure it. Let's see, where is the tool? Measure from somewhere like there. I don't know if it'll do it in miles or not. I think that is miles. Estimate mileage to time taken. There and back in total. Just a rough one, okay? And if there is another route, a longer route, a more accessible route, public one, it might vary in time. 1.52 miles, 2, 3, 4, just round it up very quickly, 3 to 4 miles in total there and back. To cover 3 to 4 miles, would that be done within a time frame window of 1:05 in the morning, of when Noah Presgrove is documented not having any writing on his chest, tummy area, from what we can see, to then 45 minutes of time passing by, and then at 1:50, Noah and Jack supposedly in the bathroom, and writing is now on the body, but it's also faded, as if Noah had a wash or water contact was made to Noah's stomach, tummy area. And BBC does mention that over the weekend and the days, every day they went down to the river to play in the water and splash and do whatever, and that water itself could wash the person's body. Did they specifically go down there to cool off because of the timing, the temperature and the season? That's one reason, because they're familiar with the area. It's a nice place to hang out, to drink. I don't know about that. In what numbers and what amounts did people be present there? Caden Pressey said he went to sleep at 2 a.m. So did Caden Pressey participate in going down to the river? Caden's never mentioned that. And also Caden Pressey has never mentioned about anybody else going down to the river from my memory. So is that because Caden wasn't aware where people got up to? Did Caden Pressey forget? Was Caden Pressey half asleep or resting, doing other stuff? Who knows? And once again, what volume of people were down at the river over the course of different days? And more importantly, if it happened in between 1:05 to 1:50 in the morning, Noah Presgrove, likely. But who else? And did anything happen at that time? Okay, so let me just try and click that off for a second. So if things did go on down here, even if it was just all nice and natural, the fact that there's no cell service, no cell signal, if anything bad was to happen, it's not like you can make a call or reach out to someone for help, right? Whilst, yeah, Noah was found on the highway, when Noah Presgrove walked off, did he really go east, or could he have walked west? What, towards the river? Would he really do that? Or would he only go so far and then something happened to him? We've got to consider all angles. Okay, Jack Newton said, well, Logan Jernigan was last to see Noah walk away at 3:30 and he was heading east towards the highway. That's what Jack's saying, but second-hand information passed on by what Logan has supposedly said or seen. We're not hearing it from the horse's mouth, and even if we was to, it would be hearsay. This is like second-hand hearsay, which is really weak in evidence, right? So you look at the alternative possibilities that if Noah Presgrove, for whatever reason, was to head west to cool off, did he walk so far down and then stop down here? Did he go on any further? It's just a suggestion and a question. You let me know your thoughts. In the past, I've mentioned about this wooded area. Did anything happen down here? Out of line of sight? Concealed? Things could be disposed of or hidden if there was a reason or need to. Okay, I know the recent videos that I've done using alternative points, as in items could have been lost, could have been misplaced, naturally, yes. But we also need to look at it from the full perspective of the darkness as well, the dark mysteries and possibilities. And as well, even if it wasn't at the time of Noah walking off, if it was earlier or a day before, is there any evidence whatsoever, right? Is there any video footage or photos? You know, if there's no cell service, if there's no Wi-Fi or internet, if that's all cut off, you can still use your phone, limited to what you can use it for, but you can still take photos. You don't need internet connection to take a photo. You don't need a cell phone signal to take a photo. But you would one way or another if you was to share it, such as SMS, text-based, internet-based, as in snaps and posting it that way. But if you're talking about original clips and raw recorded ones from the inbuilt camera of the phone, saved and stored to the inbuilt default gallery app, well, you could still record it. Brooke says she doesn't know about if footage or clips like that exist. Will we find out eventually? If the right person comes in, or if it could be passed on as a question and may get an answer at some point. And then it would show if it links or applies to 1:05 to 1:50 in the morning, even though it would be pretty dark when getting on down there, really dark. And then when you're actually at the place, you'd need some kind of light source, maybe a lamp, headlamps of the vehicle kept on, and what, playing in the water in the dark, isn't that a bit dangerous and reckless? That's the only counterpoint what I have myself at. It's what holds me back. Well then, if it wasn't a river visit, was Noah Presgrove having a shower in between 1:05 to 1:50? I know Caden Pressey did mention that Sunday night he overheard Noah inquiring already about having a shower. So maybe he eventually did early hours of Monday between 1:05 to 1:50. And that's what led to some of the text being half washed and erased. But then Noah had a second or third shower because of the after effects of the side-by-side rollover. Noah was already somewhat satisfied having a wash before, but then a side-by-side rollover getting all dirty again. Oh, needs to have another wash. That's another possibility. So, you know, it's worth considering. It's also worth considering if there could be any evidence down here, right? Any evidence whatsoever. Footprints, footmarks, track marks, which may not be accessible anymore. Rubbish, litter, just to say that there was activity down here, but who knows, maybe there's no littering. Was there any conversations, any discussions, any talks when hanging out with Noah and friends? All friendly and nice. Was there any darkness or any mysteries? Any arguments? Anything whatsoever? It needs to be highlighted. And then heading back to the party house, if so. Let's go into the bathroom area, and then that selfie. Interesting. So then, from 1:50 a.m. onwards, from side-by-side rollover and the shower of Noah being washed, the people that witnessed Noah being washed, how did his tummy, torso area appear there? Did it have writing on still? Was it more faded than before? Was it completely gone? Who knows? And if it was completely gone, then maybe it's, okay, fair enough. And then after that, if he's completely clean from then, and whatever happens to him, and then at the highway, yeah, it could explain naturally as to the process of erosion, the process of fading with time, where it is in a bit of a short space of time. I do understand that. Hopefully with that analysis, it might have put some things into perspective, or at least put it on the shelf for discussion and so on. Be sure to leave your comments and thoughts down below and share the video too. We'll see what happens next, whether there needs to be a follow-up or an update. And in between, I can add on with the whole hat and sunglasses when it comes to footage, then before and after, and trying to work out what was lost at maybe at a certain point in time, and was there an order to it? Was it spread out? Because I believe that if items were lost or misplaced, spread out, it's less sinister. If they were all lost at the same time, it's like done in bulk, as if someone was trying to get rid of multiple things because it's to do with Noah and it might have evidence on. You can let me know if you agree with that or not. So just be on the lookout for some more videos to come when possible, and be sure to check out last night's video if you want something different as for a mystery missing person case. My name's Warlight Ref. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.